And you know the sun's sitting fast, just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your love because your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun sitting down on our town, on our town? Good night. Now I sit on the porch, watch lightning bugs fly. I can't see too good, I got tears in my eyes. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I don't want to go. I love you, my town, you'll always live in my soul. And you know the sun's sitting fast, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your love because your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun sitting down on our town, on our town? Good night.
Good evening and welcome to this Week in Review. Tonight's stories include Elk Committee Community Feud, friendly reminder from the Fire Department, Guiding Movement annual ticket sale. These stories plus community events, the BBS Playbill, Off the Rack, and more coming up after this. On Monday of this week, the Help Committee hosted its second annual Community Feud. The Help Committee organized this event to celebrate Addictions Awareness Week and to bring awareness to the many addictions issues. The celebrity host for the evening was Derek Strong, one of our local RCMP officers. Becky Cloger was his very capable assistant. 6 different groups and organizations took part. There were 7 games played, including the championship game. The first game was between the Calder Health Care Center and the Police Coast Guard. The Calder Health Care Center team won with a score of 226 to 94. Up next was the Student Council and the Sea Cadets. The Sea Cadets were victorious over the Student Council with a score of 191 to 100. The third game was between the Firemen and the Community Youth Network. The Community Youth Network won with 184 points and the Firemen at 89 points. Game number 4 brought the Teachers and Lioness id to id. The teachers walked away with the game with 176 points. The Lions and Lioness team at 126 points. Game number 5 was the beginning of the semifinals. This game was between the Calder Health Care Center and the Sea Cadets. Again, the Calder Health Care Center staff walked away the winners with a score of 166 to 64. The teachers and the Community Youth Network squared off next. This time the teachers lost to the CYN. The score, 225 to 24. Before the final game took place, the host Derek Strong had a short break. During the break, refreshments was served. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Strong called the teams for the championship game forward. This battle was between the Calder Health Care Center staff and the CYN. Joy Barter, Elaine Spencer, Angela Curry, and Joyce Billard were declared the winners with a score of 220 to 89. Jason Warren, Nikita Green, Priscilla Warren, and Kayla Krant made up the Community Youth Network team.
The correct answers are, by the way, were caffeine, tobacco, and aspirin. Name, contestants ready? Name a prescription drug that is often abused or misused. survey says? Not on our survey. Sleeping pills. I think you'll have to be more specific on that one. You have to name the drug and the DIN number. Name a prescription drug that is often abused or misused. Codeine. Our survey says codeine is our number 3 answer. Play or pass, team? Play. Okay, Joyce, name a drug that is often abused or misused. Valium is our number 1 answer. Okay, Joyce. Name it. Elaine, name a prescription drug that is often abused or misused. Emerald is not there. Prescription drug that is often abused or misused. Librium. We got 2 strikes.
Paxil.
Paxil. Is that on our survey? 3 strikes. Okay, Jason. Name a prescription drug that is often abused or misused. We're looking for 2 answers. Morphine. Our survey says. Whoa!
The winning team won T-shirts with winners of the Help Committee Community Feud written on them. All who took part were also presented with certificates. There was a draw for a door prize that was won by Darren McDonald. Congratulations to the Help Committee on another successful community feud. We will be showing this in its entirety next week. The Burgeo Fire Department would like to give a friendly reminder to the residents of our town. You will have seen this notice on Community Channel 10. The Fire Department members would like residents to use extra care when dialing telephone numbers. During the past couple of weeks, the Fire Department has received a number of false alarms. Each time the fireman's pagers goes off, they have to respond as quickly as possible. It seems that after several alarms, firemen will hesitate to see if the call is a real fire call or just another false alarm. This is a concern, because when they receive a fire call, a few minutes could mean life or death, or could mean saving someone's property or losing it to a fire. With this in mind, please use extra care when dialing your telephone numbers. Your cooperation in this important matter would be greatly appreciated. On Monday of this week, we went to the school to film other posters that the students did during Addictions Awareness Week. All students in K to grade 5 took part in this poster contest. Last week on our news broadcast, the winners were presented with prizes for their efforts. Here are their posters. However, there are quite a few very nice posters. The students did a great job. Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
Okay, people, your assignment today is very simple. Make this earth as beautiful as possible. Any questions? Get started. Does anyone know where Lisa is?
Yeah, I do.
Do a good turn for the earth. A community service thought from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
On Thursday of this week, we went to the bank to find the items they have for their annual Janeway fundraiser. The bank staff are continuing their tradition of having a Christmas fundraiser in aid of the Janeway Children's Hospital. This year, they have put together a very lovely 4-place dinnerware set. It is white with a blue center with pictures of snowmen. There's also an accessory set. This includes platter, a vegetable dish, sugar and cream set, and salt and pepper set. To access your Christmas table and to complement the dishes, the bank staff has included a snowman tablecloth. For a finishing touch to your Christmas table, there are 2 ceramic snowmen. For your chance to win all these lovely items, it will cost you just $2. You can get your ticket from any bank staff member. The draw date is Monday, December the 22nd. Get your ticket soon and out the Janeway Children's Hospital. While we were at the bank, we decided to get a few shots of the Guarding Movement Christmas tree. The Guarding Movement have had this fundraiser for many years now. This will help provide resources for all the girls in the movement. Tickets on this 7-foot pre-lit tree and decorations cost $3 for $2 and are available from any member of the Sparks, Brownies, Girl Guides, Pathfinders, or Guiders. Most of the decorations on this tree have been donated by parents with girls in the movement. Some are extra decorations that the movement purchased to outfill the tree. If you haven't purchased your ticket and you would like to have one, you should do so very soon. The ticket draw date will be held on Tuesday, December the 9th at Lions Club Bingo. On Thursday of this week, Canada Post held a Customer Appreciation Day. Most of the residents that are able have seen the new renovations that have taken place at the post office some time ago. Lots of changes has taken place. The main counter area has been completely renovated. There is a brand new lower counter. Beyond the service counter also has a new look. Now on display is the many of the products used in the postal business. The main color scheme is gray and red. This wall has been removed and was replaced with a very nice display area. Along the window there is now a smaller, nicer counter. In the center of a room is a display case which holds lots of gift ideas for Christmas. Along this wall is yet another display area and the mail drop chute. In the main lobby, they have also placed a counter as well. Yvonne Power, postmistress, told us that Burgess Post Office is now up to standard with the rest of the province, and that the customers really appreciate the efforts. Every customer that came to the post office on Thursday was invited to help themselves to a coffee, tea, or soft drinks. They also had cake, sandwiches, and cookies. The Customer Appreciation Day was held to thank the customers for their patience during the renovations and to show their appreciation for the support shown by the community. Ms. Power went on to say that anyone with any question about any of the products or services offered at the post office can just ask any of the employees. On Thursday of this week, our MP Bill Matthews was in town. He dropped by our studio with Mayor Ann. We have with us in our studio today our MP Bill Matthews, and our Mayor, Alice Duran. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Good. We're glad to have you.
Thanks.
We like to see you from time to time, more often if possible.
Well,
But
that might be more difficult when they expand the riding.
For sure.
It's very difficult to travel now, as you know.
That's right. I understand that you're in town to make an announcement. Would you care to share that with us today?
Well, yes. Well, several months ago, I came to Burgeo and met with the mayor and the town council about a number of issues. And one of the issues they raised with me was the ongoing discussion with DFO about a potential new search and rescue lifeboat station for Burgeo. So I gave the mayor and the council my commitment that I would follow up on the issue and raise the matter with DFO, and in particular raise it with Federal Fisheries Minister Robert Thibault, which I did. So it wasn't all that long ago, and I'm pleased to report today that funding has been approved for the construction of a new search and rescue lifeboat station in Burgeo. And that facility will replace the existing station and will be built on a new site in the community. And it will address the safety and operational requirements for this operation here in Burgeo. And it will provide additional office and storage space. And basically what the new station will consist of is about 70-meter wharf frontage and a storage facility. And I understand from a brief discussion with the mayor before I came here that may also have some positive implications from other aspects for the town. So I just, as a member of Parliament, I'm delighted that Minister Thibault came on side on the project. The project is going to cost approximately $2.9 million, and we're hoping that construction will start in a relatively short period of time, certainly hopeful in the new year. And I think it just, from my own point of view again, it's a significant investment in Burgeo. And I think there are a number of positives to that, because, you know, with the ever ongoing reviews of government departments and agencies, that this investment of money in Burgeo for this station, I think will, in my view, lend some stability to the operation from Burgeo. And of course, there's not too often that I can come to Burgeo with sort of good news and positive news. I wish I could do it more often, but this is a good news story in my view, and I'm delighted to be here with the mayor today to share the news with the people of Burgeo. So from the other points of view of what it will mean from a town perspective, I'm sure Mayor Hand can comment on that. I understand that it may free up some space for other things, and I don't know, from a revenue point of view, it may even be positive for the town.
Well, yes, and I would like to, on behalf of the town, Bill, to thank you today for applying the lever and leveraging out this money and having it come into Burgeo. You know, we're looking at millions as being small things today, but 2.8 million is a fair chunk of money. I think most of us would settle for it. But yes, I'm very pleased that this project is going in. It increases the infrastructure here in Burgeo. It increases the federal presence here in Burgeo. So, you know, in the short term, there's going to be jobs building this facility. Now, whether they'll go, no doubt there'll be a few jobs for people of Burgeo. And then hopefully there will be the long-term jobs. And with a facility like this, depending on which way Coast Guard goes, maybe there'll be more personnel in the years to come. You know, this we don't know, but you always got to be optimistic and look forward, you know, to the brighter things. It'll free up the wharfage, which is presently in the harbor. Now, what that will be used for, we don't know, but it will free that up. And it increases, gives us more of a marine facility in short reach. So, yeah, it's a win-win situation, and I'm very pleased about it. And along with that, the federal government do pay municipal taxes in the form of grant in lieu of taxes. So I'm sure that shortly after it's been done, the town of Burgeo will have an assessment done on it, and it will be applied. And I must say, they're good people. They pay their taxes as well.
We're talking about the Coast Guard project. Some time ago, the Coast Guard told me they were going to put it in the Reach area, and that is where the Irving Oil, in that vicinity, right where the old fish plant used to be. Is that where it's going?
To my understanding, that's where it's going. They acquired that land. Now, just the configuration of the land they've acquired from Irving and what the situation is there, I'm not privy to that.
Okay. but that's the area that we're talking about, right?
To my knowledge.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, because when I met with the council a few months ago, that I think for a period of time before that, there was some question about the property and the acquisition of the property, but obviously that's been clarified, and otherwise, of course, we would, the money wouldn't have been approved, the minister wouldn't have signed off on it, so I think all that's been put to bed in a satisfactory manner. So.
Okay, well, that certainly is good news for our community, and like you say, we'll take all the $2.9 million we can.
Well, the thing is, with regard to this Irving Coast Guard thing, there's, the Coast Guard naturally has got to have waterfront property,
Yes.
whereas Irving doesn't need waterfront property, and I'm pretty sure that Irving sold that property for a figure which I don't know,
Yeah.
that they would be able to relocate. I mean, they can relocate to almost anywhere in Burgeo because they no longer service the fuel storage by tanker. It's done by road, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I know some time ago that the Coast Guard were kind enough to show me some preliminary drawings as to what they would have, and that is the area right directly off from the Irving oil. So obviously things have been worked out and things have come along just fine. Now, in your introductions, you said that being in Burgeo more often was going to be more difficult because the district has been enlarged.
Well, it will be. The plan is, of course, that there's been a redistribution, and a commission went about the province months ago holding hearings because of a population decline, like migration, basically. And as a result of that, Buren St. George's, as we now know it, all parts of Buren St. George's that is in the riding now stays, because there was some discussion about taking the Port-au-Port Peninsula of Stephenville out and adding it in with the Corner Brook riding. That didn't happen because people in Stephenville wanted to stay in Buren St. George's, and they made representation to that effect. So the Commission has recommended that Buren St. George's stay as it is, but they're going to add the Clarenville area. Clarenville, Random Island, Hickman's Harbour, that area. And the name of the riding will change to Random Buren St. George's because of the Random Island part of it coming in. So it's going to make the riding larger, and of course it's more communities, more territory, and it just makes it more difficult to travel and service. I mean, I appeared before the Commission, and what I basically said to them, being a member of Parliament is about providing a service to the people you represent, of being able to show up in all of the communities in the riding occasionally, because people expect to see you and you get invited. To be very honest with you, as a member of Parliament, representing a riding like Buren St. George's, so large and diverse geography-wise, but as well with the difficult transportation links where you always have to go up to the Trans-Canada Cross and down, that you don't have the luxury of showing up in communities many times without being invited. Yeah, you'd like to be able to do that, but time does, and travel constraints just doesn't allow it. And for all of those who criticize a person like me because I don't show up places more often, and of course who would like to have my job, if they end up with my job someday, they will realize just how difficult it is, because I do a lot of traveling. But most time you spend in a car in sort of unproductive way, sitting driving, or you're on a plane. And when you're dealing right now with over 150 towns, and after April 1st there will be the addition of the area I mentioned of Clarenville, Hickman's Harbour, Shoal Harbour, down to that George's Brook area. It's just going to make the job that much more difficult, but you do the best you can with it,
So it was because of population that it was enlarged, not geographical, because it was kind of mind-boggling if you think about it, from Carbonear right up to Stephenville, Port-au-Port area. Like, even trying to wrap your mind about how somebody would travel that district is unbelievable.
Well,
so is there any other districts that have obviously there have, because if we're taking on those, the other ones lost them.
There's been a change. Really, there's been a realignment and restructuring of the ridings, basically, and to be very honest with you, originally it was proposed to add Argential, Placentia, all the way up through Trepassey into Buren St. George's, which was, I said to the Commission, it's just, you're making the job impossible. So they went back and had another look at it, and I knew they had to add something to the riding, because we'd seen, I think it was an out-migration of about 14,000 people from the last redistribution process. So I knew something was going to be added. And I have to say, in all fairness to the Commission, what they added to Buren St. George's was probably the the best piece of turf they could add from a service point of view, because you're not that far off the Trans-Canada, and where I go east and west so much, going down to the centre of the riding and to the western part of the riding, that, you know, it's not that far out of the way to say to pop down to Clarenville or Random Island. And it's really not a big problem area, you know. The Clarenville is not a problem town, it's more of a growth area. So, you know, I think the Commission, from Buren St. George's point of view, did the best they could do with it by adding that piece of territory. It could have been far worse, but having said that, there's only so much time you have to travel. There's only so many days in a year, and of course when the House of Commons sits, you're expected to be in Ottawa.
Okay.
So it's, you know, probably 5 months, 6 months a year, and then you're down out of it on weekends, out to events in the community. So it's a difficult job to service, and as I said to the Commission, it's about servicing the riding. It's not about anything else. It's not about the person, who it is, whether it's me or you or someone else. It's about servicing the riding and trying to get where people are on occasion so they can access you. It's about accessibility to a Member of Parliament. But it's a very difficult job because of the size of the geography. And of course the people in the Clarenville area weren't all that tore up about this, because they said, well, we have nothing in common with the West Coast, which is true, and they have nothing in common with the Conagra Peninsula, which is true, and they have very little in common with the Buren Peninsula. But like I said to them, you know, I went and met the Chamber of Commerce a few weeks ago, and I said to them, well, look, you know, the Buren Peninsula doesn't have anything in common with the Conagra either, or with the Southwest Coast. So it's a very difficult situation, and I think all of the regions sort of wonder what they're doing in a riding with the other regions, but it's been that way for a period of time, and but very difficult to service.
So that's the reason why it was done, because of the declining population, and that was the only reason?
It's driven, the Commission is driven by legislation, federal legislation. They have to do this periodically, this review. And it is population driven. I mean, the population base, which no one else can deny, has decreased. But my presentation to the Commission, I said, the population has decreased, but the number of communities stay the same. So my travel, you know, it's just as difficult.
Okay.
You know, I still have the same number of communities that I try to get to on a fairly regular basis. So even though the population has declined, my travel requirements are just as great. As a matter of fact, I said to the Commission that with the declining population, problems don't decrease in communities, they increase. So my presence is required more so, because if your population decreases to a certain point, with it comes all kinds of economic problems, tax problems and revenue problems for councils, that's the mayor can identify with. So because people had left the riding, didn't mean that my job was it wasn't easier, it was made more difficult. But anyway, but that's what they came up with. But there's been a whole change in the ridings. You know, the Gander Grand Falls riding now goes in and takes in as far east as the Bonavista Peninsula, and then there's a whole realignment in a new riding called the Avalon, and the St. John's ridings have been restructured into what's now St. John's South and St. John's North, which is big changes. So there's been changes right across the province, but it's very difficult to service, is the point. It's you know, it's very difficult. You can only be in one place at a time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, from your perspective and a community that's in this new riding, and given the fact that Mr. Matthews' his travel is limited, how do you feel on behalf of the town as to that?
Well, you know, it just comes natural that, I mean, if the territory gets larger, then you're going to see less of him. Now, you know, I mean, I must say that since I've been mayor, I've met with Bill fairly frequent and met Aaron Burgio. Maybe I should probably offer an apology, because when this commission was going around holding hearings, it was one of those things that just slipped by us, because the town of Burgio, we didn't take the stand that we should have took there. But according to what I just heard Bill say, whether we did or not, I mean, the changes were coming and there was not much you could do. But no, we didn't give it the attention that we should have by voicing our objections to the restructuring of the Buren St. George's borders. But I'll go back to what I've said to Bill many times, is I think that I told him many times that the criteria for representing Burgio or Buren St. George's should be that you're capable of flying a helicopter and that you be given one.
That'd be just
That would make it very simple,
It would be, but then of course there are times from in the spring when there's probably a couple of months where even the helicopter wouldn't get you around when the fog sets in. But
Sure.
but no, you know, it's that kind of a situation, that kind of a job, and I mean, you know, if someone wants me somewhere in the community, you know, and a fairly urgent matter, I mean, as Alistair can attest to, I mean, I'll get there. But it just, you know, increases your demand for travel. And I mean, what it does when the House sits, I mean, is every week when the House sits, I'm out of Ottawa on Thursday or Friday. out somewhere in the riding for a couple of events, back into Ottawa Sunday or Monday. I average traveling, when the house sits, is 20 to 25 hours a week. I travel flying or driving. And then, of course, when I'm back in Ottawa, I have duties there every day.
Sure.
So it's a very difficult job. And as I said, it's very easy to, and I understand people, when you're in public life, people wonder where you've been since the last time, and when they see, oh, there must be another election. That's regular stuff. But it's a difficult job, but I do the best I can with it, and I try to get places like Burgeo as often as I can. I've been here a lot of times, I must say, and I enjoy coming here. But having said that, I know that I'm not here enough. But, there are other, when you're dealing with over 150 other towns, with the transportation network that we have, it's very difficult to show up any more often. But,
Okay. Now, moving along to your job, we're soon going to have, I guess, a new Prime Minister, Mr. Paul Martin. Is it possible, or how do you feel about a possible cabinet position for yourself? Maybe let's say, right off the top of my head, Fisheries Minister.
Well, let me just say this to you, that who will be the Newfoundland's representative in the federal cabinet will be the decision of incoming Prime Minister Paul Martin.
Yes.
And there are only 4 government members of Parliament in Ottawa, Liberal members. There is a federal minister right now, Visa Minister Jerry Byrne. But it'd be Mr. Martin's decision whether he keeps Mr. Byrne in that position or whether he asks one of the other 3 to be a minister. And of course it would be his decision of what position he asks that person to take on, whether it be a COA or whether it be Fisheries or Transport Canada or whatever, So it's something that as a Member of Parliament you have no control over. It's just like a few weeks ago when Premier Williams formed a new cabinet. I mean, it was his decision who we put in what portfolios, and same things federally. So you have no idea as a Member of Parliament or as an MHA if the phone is going to ring and you're going to be invited into the cabinet. And usually it doesn't happen until just before the swearing in. You don't have a lot of lead time. I mean, I've been through it before provincially. I was a minister in 2 portfolios provincially, and you don't get the call that much before. In my case then, of course, I had to go to St. John's to get sworn in. If Mr. Martin decides that it's me, I'm sure that I won't have much lead time to get to Ottawa and get a new suit to get sworn in. But it's his decision, and I have no idea whatsoever what's in
None
my
whatsoever?
future. No whatsoever. My future for that. So it's his decision, and I'm sure he's bogged down with that now. He's in a big period of transition, and whether any of the other MPs have been contacted by the Prime Minister's office, I wouldn't know that. All I can tell you is I haven't.
Okay. No, I say that because when Mr. Williams was forming his new government, you would say, well, this one would make a good minister for this, and that one would make a good minister for that. So there's absolutely no discussion whatsoever between yourself and other cabinet ministers saying, well, maybe this one would be, or that one would be?
No, well, I just followed, I've monitored the news regularly, and of course there's speculation that, this one might be, or that one might be, or this one will not be. I mean, So, but, we're no closer to that than the general public like you would be by listening to the open line shows or reading the newspapers, and that's just the kind of process it is. I mean, the general public don't understand that, but it is the Prime Minister's decision or the Premier's decision. And of course, when you've got, in Mr. Martin's case, over 170 members of Parliament, and if he has a cabinet of 35, then there's going to be 135 or 140 people that's not going in. So your chances are much greater that you're going to be in the 135 than in the 35. I mean, that's facts of life.
Yes, sure.
And in Newfoundland, traditionally, there's only been one federal minister, and there are 4 of us that are Liberal MPs on the government side, and he's got to decide which one it will be. So today, to be very honest with you, I don't know any more about that, what he's thinking, than you do. I really don't, and I'm being very honest about that.
Okay. Now, the fisheries is always a big topic of conversation for Newfoundlanders, of course.
Right.
And they seem to be, the scientists, seem to be telling us again that the cod stocks off of our coast, since ours is probably the only one that's open now, is not as good or as strong as they first thought. What's the buzz about that in Ottawa now? Where does that seem to be going in the Ottawa area?
Well, you're really talking now to 3PS stock, and it's only the last couple of days that there's been some information that has come forward and made public on 3PS, and what they're saying is that there seems to be a little bit of change, I guess, in some of the year classes from what was anticipated a couple of years ago. Stock is in still fairly good shape, but I think they have a fear that it's probably not as good a shape now as they thought it would be a couple of years ago at this time, and what they anticipate, I think, leading into 1995. They're sort of fearful of what might happen, I think, as I remember correctly, what's going to happen to the year classes and the biomass after 1995. But what really stuck out at me was the range of what they predict the biomass might be. It's something like 100,000 metric ton potential difference, say from, they're putting the range from 85,000 metric tons to something like 185,000 metric tons, which is 100,000 metric ton difference. So it's not very accurate when you look at that. The biomass could be, say, between 80,000 metric tons and 180,000 metric tons. I mean, that's a lot of difference, 100,000 metric tons of fish. What we couldn't do with it, what we couldn't do with some of it in Burgeo if we had it. But having said that, I mean, I pay particular attention, and I don't underestimate the concern that the scientific community has raised on that aspect of 3PS stock. But that's a very important issue. But more importantly for me is the commercial Gulf cod fishery. Last year, I very strongly opposed Minister Thibault closing that fishery. I think it's most everybody in the province knows, and pretty much everybody in Ottawa knows, because I was pretty outspoken on the issue, and I still oppose the decision. Recent months, the scientific information flowing out of the assessments and recent data on the Gulf cod fishery is that really not as bad as they said it was last year. There seems to be more positive signs. So a couple of months ago, I wrote Minister Thibault in light of, because last year the science was so inconclusive and inconsistent, and in my view it was seriously flawed. And that's why I felt the minister should not have shut down the fishery. I thought he should have at least maintained a 5,000 metric ton fishery last year. He didn't do it. So I've written him a couple of months ago, and I've asked him to reconsider that decision in light of the more positive scientific information that's coming forward. Now, he hasn't responded to that. But I think if you follow the media again, and there seems to be a bit of a warming up, I don't know if we'll get a decision that we'll have a commercial Gulf fishery in the next season. But there seems to be a change of attitude on the issue. So while I share the concerns of the scientific community on 3PS, at least there's a commercial fishery in 3PS. There isn't one in the Gulf. And I'm hopeful that we will see one. That's my desire, is that we will at least see the reinstatement of a commercial Gulf cod fishery. Now, whether that's going to happen, I don't know. With all the changes that's taking place in Ottawa, very honestly, I won't be surprised if there is a new fisheries minister. It wouldn't totally surprise me to see Paul Martin sort of split the fisheries portfolios into East and West. I would not be surprised at that at all. The West are always complaining that they're not listened to. The East is always complaining that we're not listened to. So I would not be surprised at all in the old restructuring of government that Mr. Martin would probably give some serious thought to perhaps splitting the fisheries portfolio into a western region, and probably Quebec and Atlantic. And to be very honest with you, I would support that because I think it would be good for us, and I think it would be good for the West, because we always complain about where we don't have enough input into our own decisions, and if we had an East, because I mean, under the present situation, what is possible, which we've had in the past, is that there could be somebody from British Columbia that's fisheries minister for Canada, just as well as BC get their noses out of joint when they say someone from Newfoundland that's a fisheries minister for Canada. So I think if the portfolio or the department was split, I think it would make a lot of sense. I think it would give the minister a lot more opportunity to have more hands-on the management of the fishery, and it would give the people from the regions a greater opportunity to influence the minister, because this country is pretty broad. When you have three coasts really you're dealing with. I mean, we have a fishery in the north, and we have a big fishery in the center of the country, which people on all sides don't realize. But in the Great Lakes, there's a tremendous fishery.
Freshwater fishery.
A big freshwater fishery that's underestimated, and people don't realize how big it is. So it's a pretty difficult job to be Fisheries and Oceans Minister for Canada under the existing situation where it's all of Canada. But if you were to split that into East and West, I think it would make a lot of sense for everybody.
Another hot topic that's been in the news lately, and I don't know even if this is in your jurisdiction or not, is probably provincial, but that's the Fishery Guardian Program.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concern from not only fishery guardians, but people like Spawn and those fishermen who fish the rivers and brooks and whatever, that this program is going to be cut. Now, from your perspective in Ottawa, what do you say about that, or if there's anything you can do? What can you do?
I've already made representation to Minister Thibault on that. I made representation to our regional minister on that, Jerry Byrne, 2.5, 3 months ago. The issue was brought to my attention by a group of river guardians. I met with about 15 of them actually in Marystown, I'd say 2.5, 3 months ago. And they had picked up the scuttlebutt that there was going to be a reduction in funding for the River Guardian program, and it would mean that, I think a cut of somewhere like 40%, they were telling me. They had already taken, I think, a week less work this past season, so that had a negative impact on their earnings, but as well, of course, a negative impact on the rivers, which is what we're concerned about.
Yes.
So I listened to them very carefully, so I went about trying to determine if their fears were real or not. What I've determined as a result of that is that there is a review, not only on the River Guardian program, but the old DFO department is under review and some kind of restructuring. Coast Guard, which we talked about, we're announcing today, the River Guardian program, everything is on the table for review. And it's not only Fisheries and Oceans, it's most federal government departments that's under review. So I took the issue up with Minister Byrne first, because the River Guardians that I met were led to believe that the River Guardians as they now exist were going to be replaced by some kind of custodial group that was going to be funded by a COA. So I raised that issue with Jerry Byrne, who's the Minister of a COA, to see if he was aware of it, and he said he was not, and that there was no such proposal on the table for any funding from a COA to replace those River Guardians with some other kind of a custodial management group. So I put that to rest. I then met with Robert Thibault and raised the issue with him. And all Robert Thibault could tell me, which I know is true, is that all the DFO programs were under review, but there had been no decision taken on this. And to my knowledge, there's still not a decision made on it. I strongly oppose it. I think it would be a major step backward if we reduce the River Guardian program. I mean, here we are trying to rebuild and regenerate the Atlantic wild salmon resource. We shut down our own commercial salmon fishery years ago, bought out people, cost us much money, but took them out of the fishery. And I mean, if we're going to be so backward and negative about it now to take the Guardians off the river, well, we're only opening ourselves up to poaching, and we're going to, I guess, eliminate or certainly significantly reduce the salmon population. So to me, it doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm strongly opposed to it, and that's been my involvement to date in it. So I hope that someone in position of authority has enough common sense that they don't tamper with that program.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just delighted to be here, and I'd like to wish you and the people of Burgeo all the best, and hopefully I get back as often, if not more often.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to thank Bill for his work towards Burgeo, and I thanked him for the big project which is presently we spoke about today. But in between that, there's been what you call a lot of little ones, $70,000, $80,000, and $100,000 ones.
Well, actually,
they've come to Burgeo.
Your broadcasting system just a few weeks ago, and all that stuff, we were able to get $70,000 or so approved through Strategic Community Investment Fund, which we were pleased to do. And so, there's always. The thing about it is, it's the same old case, I guess, where there's never enough money to go around. But I try to be fair with it, and the thing about it is like Burgeo has always been a priority of mine because of the economic situation here, and I know the history of the town, and I know the economics of the town. I knew what a proud and hard-working people you've been all your lives, and. I guess the one thing that I'm delighted to come here today and announce this funding, and to announce $70,000 or $80,000 or $100,000 for this and that and something else. That still the real big issue here is an industry. You need a primary industry that gives you that core workforce that then enables small business to grow and so on. And of course, to date we haven't been able to find that answer, and very honest with you, I'm disappointed about that, because. There's nothing better that I would like to do than to find a resource to bring to Burgeo to create a core number of jobs for this community.
Next time.
Well, I wish that could be, but it's very difficult though to find a resource. We've talked shrimp, we've talked crab, we've talked seals, right, and on it goes. But to date we haven't been successful, and it's very honest with you, it's disappointing, that we haven't. But I'm still committed to trying to do something about that, and if I'm not successful in my tenure as MP in doing that, as I've said to the mayor and others at times, that it will be a disappointment for me, very honest with you, because I'd really like to do that.
Well, we certainly thank you for coming down and joining us today, and give you an invitation that anytime you're in our community, just drop by. We'd be more than glad to sit and chat with you.
Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
You're kind of welcome.
Thank you, Marie.
Stay with us for Off the Rack, the community events, and the BBS Playbill, all after this.
It's the only planet known to sustain life. The only one whose atmosphere has been regulated by nature to create the perfect balance. But today, the Earth is warming, and nature's not doing it. Fortunately, all of us know someone who has the power to do something.
Off the Rack. This week, as we scanned our tape rack, we came across a tape of some of this year's graduates during their kindergarten graduation. Let's look back to June the 15th, 1992. Good evening. Welcome to the community event segment of tonight's broadcast. I'm Rebecca Young. The winner of the Burnett's TV Bingo was Roberta Sims. Congratulations, Roberta. The Sand and Sea Committee will be having TV Bingo on Wednesday, December 3rd at 7 p.m. One game for $500. Cards are $6 or $5 and are available from any member of the Sand and Sea Committee and are in most stores around town. Please support the Sand and Sea Committee. Play TV Bingo. You could win $500 just in time for Christmas. The Burgeo Fire Department are selling tickets on an emergency kit. The kit includes fire extinguisher, propane lanterns, propane cylinders, candles, and more. Tickets are 3 for $2 and are available from any member of the Burgeo Volunteer Fire Department. Upcoming events. Saturday, December 13th. United Church Chocolate Plus Sale at the Parish Hall. The Anglican and United Church are continuing the Christmas Hamper project this year. The hamper will consist of items for a complete Christmas dinner to be given out to families in need this holiday season. Items may include turkey, potatoes, cabbage, turnip, carrots, onions, salt meat, cranberry sauce, and green peas. If you would like to help with this project, please drop your items off at the back of the church. Deadline is Tuesday, December 16th. If you need a hamper or you know of someone who needs one, please contact Reverend Heidel at 2289, Reverend Sellers at 2222, Linda Pink at 2802, Terry Rose at 2837, or Elsie Rose at 2559. Anyone wanting to make a money donation towards this project can put it in an envelope marked Christmas Hamper and drop it in the offering plate, or pass it along to one of the committee members.
If you would like to donate a turkey, please let one of the committee members know, and they will contact you when they are ready to do the hampers. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. The LOBI will be having their Christmas craft and bake sale on Saturday, December 6th. Doors open and sale starts at 2 p.m. Admission is 50 cents. Tickets will be sold, and there will be 5 games of Share the Wealth Bingo. Come along and bring a friend. If your group or organization has an upcoming event planned, we will be happy to advertise it for you. Just call the BBS office by Wednesday of each week to have items included in this portion of our broadcast. That concludes the community events segment of tonight's broadcast. See you next week.
And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. For This Week in Review, I'm Marie Rose. Good night and God bless.